Thank you for that. So imagine you wake up in the morning and you are rested, you are recharged, you are ready to dive into your work, your business. And then something happens, right? Maybe that email comes in and there's been a delay in a delivery, or that phone call and there's one more thing on your to-do list, right? Some situation comes up that you were not planning on. So now, instead of feeling recharged, you're frustrated or agitated, maybe even discouraged. So I'm just curious to ask all of you, what knocks you off your game? When you go in and you're ready to go, and then bam, what are some kinds of things that hit you? Anybody willing to share?
Call from school.
Oh yeah, that can make it, yes.
Snowstorm.
Oh, imagine that, in March even, right? Yes. A couple more, yes.
Your husband says, can you do this one thing before you leave today?
Thank you, I'm not the only one. Yeah. Yes, exactly. One more.
He hasn't started supper.
He gets so many, he hasn't started supper, hasn't done something he said he was going to do, like maybe even plow the driveway or shovel out the sidewalk. So you think about how when we get knocked off our game, are you more focused and able to get work done, or less focused? More or less? Less. Do you have more patience with situations and other people? More or less patience?
Less.
Yeah. But what if in those moments we could have more capacity to be our best self and handle these situations? So I love diagrams, so I had to put this in a diagram. So if we think about like business pressure, right? Just even challenging people, uncertainty, overwhelm, and we think about how this can create this inner chaos. I really like this term because at least for me, I'm like, oh yeah, that feels about right, inner chaos. Now we're in this reactive mode where we're more defensive, frustrated, impatient, and now it has an impact on our business. We're less focused, less clarity. But what if there was this other option? And today we're going to call this inner alignment. And so if we could have more inner alignment, just imagine how we could spend more time in our best self. And what would that look like? Now we're calmer, more confident, maybe more patient and connected. And now we can be more productive, have better relationships. So that is my goal today, is to talk to you about something new I've learned in the last few years on top of positive psychology that I've been spending actually over a decade on, this new approach that to me, it's honestly changed everything for me. And so now it's my new passion to really share it with as many people as possible. Because so often, how quickly do we try to jump in and manage a situation before we manage what's going on inside? So the exciting thing about this is when we are reactive, if we notice those thoughts when we're reactive, it can be things like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. It's not my fault. This person's being so unreasonable, right? But when we can be in our best self, we can notice thoughts more like, I can figure this out. I can stay calm and curious about this. And so one of the key things to our discussions today is what I'm going to call patterns of thinking. So for example, I have a pattern where I really like to focus on making sure everybody's happy. I worry about it, right? I can get anxious about it. I love harmony. I don't like conflict. So that's a pattern of thinking for me. I have another part that loves to analyze, really try to understand all kinds of phenomena, and I think that's why I like science. So that's another pattern. So today we're going to call these patterns parts. So you might have even noticed yourself using this term, like, oh, there's a part of me that wants to go to this event at the chamber today and there's a part of you that says it's too cold, I want to stay home. Maybe there's a part of you that says, oh, I want to expand my product or service line, but another part says, like, I should just focus on what I'm already doing. So thinking about parts. So let me introduce you to a part that I've been getting to know in my own life. So I never intended to work with cancer patients. I was a speaker on positive psychology after I left my biotech career. And yet, a health issue that came up for me sent me down this path because I didn't want to be on medication the rest of my life. And during this journey of doing research, I discovered Dr. Nasha Winters. And I have to tell you, I was so impressed. She's all about the latest science. She's a successful clinician. And not only that, she's a thriver 30 years after a terminal cancer diagnosis. So I quickly became a big fan. And then she offered training to be a cancer patient advocate. I'm like, I never planned to do this, but I just, you know how sometimes something just calls to you? And so I just jumped in and I did it. And so here I am now, I'm working with cancer patients. But I also had an opportunity to be part of a team inside her organization. So I quickly jumped at that too. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like, it's just all falling into place. The first project we were given on this team was to develop some simple handouts for cancer patients. Things like, oh, eat more of this, less of this, here's some lifestyle changes. And my part of this project was to go through my training, gather the information, and send it off to Terry. Terry would put it in the template for the handout. So I gathered it up, I sent it off, and about a week later, I get a draft of the handout. I open it up, and my heart sinks. Because here is tiny font, long paragraphs, anything but simple to use. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have to say something. But I don't really know Terry. I've never even met her in person. So how do you provide this kind of critical feedback to someone you don't really know? So I reached out for help. And Patty spoke up. She loves to offer me advice. And she was like, yeah, you're right, Tina. You're going to have to choose your words really carefully. Because what if Terry thinks you don't like her? What if she thinks you don't like her work? And I said, yeah, but these handouts, they're not useful the way they are. And she said, yeah, but what if you speak up and they think you're not a team player? What if they think you're causing waves? What if you lose this opportunity to be part of Dr. Nasha's mission? I didn't like it, but she had a point, and so I didn't say anything. And those handouts went out to the team. They saw the problem, and it took the team lead stepping in to work with Terry to fix it. So instead of being proud of my contribution to the team, all I could feel was I failed. And I had nobody to blame. But Patty, she gave me bad advice, right? Well, there's something you should know about Patty. She's not one of my girlfriends. She's not a colleague, right? Patty is my people pleaser part. She is that part of me, right? That pattern of thinking that wants to make sure everybody's happy, there's harmony, that I'm not rocking the boat. And the mistake I made wasn't that I listened to Patty, it was that I let her run the show. And this is going to be a theme that comes up again and again today. These parts, we want to listen to them, but we don't want to let them take control and control our words and our actions and what we do. So at the time, though, I didn't know anything about parts. I hadn't reached that point in my journey yet. So I want to give you just a brief overview of what brought me to this realization. So as you heard, I started off my career as a scientist in biotech. I was supporting big pharma in their efforts to find new cancer drugs. Then I discovered positive psychology, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. So I hung up my lab coat. I started getting trained in positive psychology, learning it, speaking on it, really helping people think about what they think about, realizing how important our thoughts are. And then came that detour. Suddenly, I'm training with Dr. Nation. Now I'm working with cancer patients. And here is a group of people that were facing so much uncertainty and stress. And what I realized in this process was that the healing wasn't just about the treatments or the diet or the lifestyle. Time and again with people, I would see how their inner chaos was an obstacle to their healing. And that is what then led me to look deeper. And that is when I discovered internal family systems, or IFS, discovered by Dr. Richard Schwartz in the 1980s. Yeah, this was a psychological framework that had been studied, there was research, been used for decades, and it kept showing how our minds are made up of different parts. And these parts have different goals and priorities. And that is what my inner alignment that I'm excited to share with you today is based on, because these concepts in this framework are definitely gaining so much momentum that they're now being taught in schools. And I just finished an 8-week course on how to bring it into businesses. So I'm like, okay, we got to get the word out there, because this has been life-changing for me. So, what about you? Do you have a people pleaser part? Or maybe you have different parts that get loud when certain things happen, right? Like when there's that delay or when things don't go right. Maybe you have a perfectionist. Like everything has to be done just right. Or a hyper-analyzer like me, like, oh, we got to figure this out. And sometimes it just doesn't know when to stop analyzing. Maybe you have a pleaser like me, or an avoider. I have a big avoider. I don't like conflict. A hyperachiever, an inner critic. And in your handouts, there's a longer list of parts, and they're actually categorized. So I'm not going to go into all those today, but know that they're there. Take a look. And actually, right now, just take a moment. Maybe look at the list or just look up here. Do any of these resonate? And you don't have to raise your hand, right? Your part knows. But just to think about, is there one or even two of these that you're like, oh yeah, I recognize that part. And as you look through those, I want to really emphasize that the goal here is to not get rid of these parts. These parts are really useful, right? Because just like looking at the list or looking it up there can be really good attributes to these parts, like a pleaser, like wanting other people to be happy. I mean, doesn't that sound like that could be a good thing? Or even analyzing or being a hyperachiever. I mean, those aren't bad until they take control, until they are running the show, right? Until they go too far and they become a problem. So again, instead of wanting to get rid of them, the idea is how can we work with them? Instead of trying to override them, how can we transform them? And that is why I created this align model. It's in your handouts, there's a cheat sheet on it, but this is what we're going to really focus on today and go through each step. So just real quickly, again, thinking about parts, first is to just become aware. Oh, there's a part that's activated. maybe listen. What is it saying? What is it worried about? And then inquire. Ask it questions. Get to know it. Give it reassurance that you listen to it, that you hear it and understand it. And then the last step is to navigate forward. Make choices from your best self, not your parts. Your best self is running the show. So what I also want you to think about as we go through this is how this aligned model sounds a lot like concepts of great leaders and what they do with their team, right? Their team, listening, giving reassurance, working with them. All right, so diving in, awareness. First, it's just noticing that something's up, right? Like, oh, look at that. I'm feeling a little triggered, a little frustrated. I'm feeling anxious. I think of like even just being on the phone with a customer service person and I feel like I'm getting the runaround and I start feeling agitated. Oh, that's a part. So here's an example. Okay, Chris is so judgmental. They criticize everything. To feel that like you're upset and frustrated and to be able to step back and really think about what you think about, right? Become the observer, not just the participant, not just the part in all of the irritation and stress and drama. This is key, right? You can't do anything until you become aware that this is happening. So this past week, were you ever frustrated or triggered? That was a part. This was shocking to me, this idea. Because when I started to pay attention, I started to notice parts everywhere, right? Talking to my daughter, talking to my husband, being on the phone with a customer, something would come up. Yeah. So I'm going to throw up some situations that maybe you can relate to. And just as we go through these, just think about, oh, when these happen or if they've happened, do you notice any reaction in your system? You're running behind schedule. You're late. Is there a feeling that comes up? You're interacting with that difficult person. You know who they are. A customer leaves a negative review or a negative comment. Someone questions your decisions, challenges you. You're facing uncertainty maybe about finances or the future of your business. All right, so what I'm going to ask you to do is pick your favorite. Pick one that you're like, oh yeah, that I definitely can feel a reaction to. I know that a part comes up when this happens. And we're going to do a quick show of hands and see which one wins today. That gets the most votes. So the next step is to listen. Which part is talking and what is it saying? This is key too. I mean, first you have to become aware, but then, oh, there's my people pleaser talking. It's worried about rocking the boat. Oh, there's my analyzer, my hyper analyzer kicking in when I just want to enjoy a sunset. So when I first heard about these parts, I will tell you, I was skeptical. I'm like, it sounds a little out there for me, but let me just experiment, right? Let me just see what happens. And again, I started noticing them everywhere. So you've met my people pleaser. Then there's my judge. Yeah, she's very sharp. She's got a sharp tone, and she'll say things like, Tina, how can you be so stupid? Then there's my analyzer that I've mentioned, right, that just doesn't know when to stop. I mean, my brain loves to analyze. I never knew that till I started tuning in. Like, whoa, it loves to think and analyze about everything. My get it done part, right, this is so helpful when I'm, need to make progress, when I want to be productive, but not when I'm trying to get to sleep at night. Or my numbing part. This part is really helpful when I need to stay calm and professional under situations that come up. Maybe you've been there. And it can be really great that way, but it also flattens out some of the good emotions. So again, there's good aspects to these, but they can be overdone. So why do you react the way you do? Why does something maybe trigger you? It's a part. So in order to make it easier to sort of see these parts, a great shift is to learn how to speak for them instead of from them. Because we naturally speak from them, like, oh, I'm so upset, I'm anxious, I'm worried, versus, oh, a part of me is upset. Just shifting that language really changes how we think and feel about it. So here's an example, and I'm gonna have you help me shift how we word this. So maybe your business loses an important customer. Now, some people might have a part that shows up that's a pessimist, right? Like, oh, this is hopeless, I can't do this work, I can't do this business. There's a part of me that thinks that maybe I can't do this. Who messed up? Maybe there's a blamer part. Who messed up? Who caused this? What would this sound like speaking for it? There's a part of me that feels that I need to blame somebody, that I need to find who messed up. Maybe this person has an inner critic part. Oh, I should have tried harder, done better. A part of me feels I should have tried harder, done better. See how you're kind of going from I to, oh, there's a part. One more. Oh, maybe it's an opposite. It's okay. We can find new customers. There's a part of me that feels this way, that it's okay. And I'm putting up lots of examples because intuitively when I do this, people feel like, well, if I'm speaking for it, I need to try to fix it. I need to try to understand it. But in this case, we are just rewording. Does that make sense? You see the shift here? Subtle, but huge in how it affects us, in our body. So when we speak from the parts and we're using words like I, me, I feel this way, it often feeds the negative emotion, right? It builds it up. And we're focusing what our part wants versus what's best for the situation. Because the part is the one that has taken over you and is making you say, oh, I feel upset. So the part is in control, and we usually don't even have awareness around this. Versus when we can speak for it, now we can think more calmly and clearly about the situation. We can consider more options, and our best self has more control with more self-awareness. So we're going to try this activity. We're going to give this a little try, see how this feels. So I'm going to ask you to think of a recent trigger, nothing big, something, maybe small, like waking up going, no, there's all this snow or it's cold or something. So a medium trigger. Here's some examples just because I know when someone's like, think of this, my mind goes blank. So here's just a little, material to get your brain going, like, do any of these resonate? Have any of these happened for you? And I'm going to give you like a minute to think about which trigger you want to focus on. And then think about what does it sound like when you speak from it versus for it. And then I'm going to have you turn to somebody and practice. First starting with speaking from it. I write words like I am, I feel, this, Then I'm going to ask you to take a breath, let the emotion fade a little bit, and now imagine like a friend is telling you this, and now you're going to tell the other person, you're going to shift and you'll say, a part of me wants this or felt this. And then you're going to switch. So each person is doing the for and the from, and then you switch, and the other person does the for and the from. Does that make sense? Any questions? All right, so think of your trigger, and when you're ready, groups of 2 or 3, I'm going to have you turn to each other and do this. Now it's going to get loud in here, so I can either just clap my hands and get your attention back the normal way, or if you're up for a little something fun and different, we could do it the fun way. Which would you prefer? Okay, well, let's practice the fun way then. So when it's time to come back after a few minutes, I'm going to sing, and you're going to sing back. Yeah, you asked for this, and I am an introvert, right? So I am an introvert. Okay, so we're going to practice. Are we ready to practice this? So here's what will happen. You'll be busy talking, and I'm going to go, na, 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 na. Not too bad for early on a cold morning, but let's do it one more time because we got to get everybody's attention, right? We got to bring the attention back. Okay, so one more time. Great job. Well, I love the energy. It felt like there was a lot of discussion going on, and I would just love to hear from a couple people. What was that like? Was it hard? Was it easy? Could you feel a difference? So I don't know if you could hear her, she said as she's trying to talk in the aspect that it's a part of her, she was still stuck in the frustration. Yes, it's kind of like, as you start to try to say it, it can help the emotion subside, but sometimes we might also have to take a couple deep breaths. We might have to just get a little grounded to let that emotion go because, when we are fully immersed in it, that part is loud and strong. And so when we can even just do little things to help kind of relax that, nervous system, then it's easier to shift that wording. Anybody else? What was it like? And so there I would say the idea that hopefully maybe with what we talk about today can help, because when we're in the frustration, right, when we're in all that emotion, it's so hard to think clearly and we end up being reactive. And so the goal is, can we get in a place where we can be more calm and curious, and then we can think of more options of like, how do we get this to happen? How do we move forward? Because when we're reactive, not only is it not fun, right, and it feels really yucky, it's really hard to be clear and curious and confident. All right, well, thank you for doing that. I hope you got a little flavor of it because honestly, those first 2 steps might not sound all that unusual, right? You've probably heard something like this in other approaches, like, become aware, notice your thoughts, your feelings. But I will say that at least for me, these next 2 steps are where things get a little bizarre, a little fascinatingly bizarre. The next step is inquire. Here is where we want to talk to this part. We want to get to know it. We want to say, my Patty the people pleaser, help me understand what your fears and concerns are. What are you worried about? What do you want me to know? What's going on? And honestly, we're going to go into this more later, but I've learned so much about my people pleaser part and how it really is just trying to protect me. Like in the case with those handouts, it says, you really love this opportunity of being part of Dr. Nasha's mission, and I didn't want you to ruin that chance. And it may sound weird, like I said, I was very skeptical, but honestly, with a little practice, you do start getting answers. You do start hearing and learning more about it when you can ask questions from a place where we're not immersed in the emotion, right? We've stepped back. And that part gives us a little more space, is kind of the term we use. So, first of all, why would we even want to get to know one of these parts, right? I mean, if they're sabotaging us, if they're getting in the way of our ability to, have good relationships and communicate and make good decisions, wouldn't we just want to get rid of them? I mean, wouldn't we at least want to manage them? And, I think of terms like, yes, I would wish this part would just go away. It needs to be fixed. It's, I just want to ignore it. I want to suppress it. And yet, I love this analogy, like, you have a group of unruly children in the back seat and you just want them to be quiet so you can focus on driving. And yet what I have learned and what has really changed everything for me is that there is another way. Everything I had learned, even in positive psychology, was about choose a different thought, override that negative feeling. But here, the answer is to acknowledge this part. I see you. To understand it. To appreciate it. To actually build trust with this part so it doesn't think it has to run the show. The amazing thing to me is that it's not about force. It's about relationship with our inner world, with our inner parts that are working so hard to protect us and help us. But without some clear leadership from our best self, they just try to run the show and they take over. And then they control what we say and do. And that can get us into trouble, right? But it might, I know my first reaction was, are you kidding me? Build trust? That sounds preposterous. My inner critic that can make me feel worthless, you want me to appreciate it? Or my avoider that will keep me from sharing my ideas or my concerns, you want me to try to understand it? Or my angry part that can hijack what I say and make me do and say things I regret. Yet if these emotional states were just, unwanted thoughts and feelings, it would make sense to use our willpower, right, to override them, to choose differently. But time and again, Dr. Dick Schwartz and all the people who have studied and researched this, every time they find that these parts, they're not the enemy. They're trying to protect us. That was my huge aha. So getting to know our parts. What kinds of questions can we ask, right? What do you want me to understand? What is it that you're trying to protect me from? What are you worried about? What do you need? Do you just need acceptance? Do you need appreciation, assurance? And at first it may feel like really weird, like, okay, nobody's talking back or what's going on. But I will tell you that if you play with this, if you experiment with this, you will start to notice things coming up. And I had things coming up where I'm like, whoa, I haven't thought about that in like 40 years. Where did that come from? It was fascinating. And again, notice that these questions are similar to what good leaders do with their people. We are being good leaders to our internal team, our team of parts that are trying to help us. So, but if these parts, if they feel like they are being resisted, if they feel like they're being pushed away, that they are unwanted, they don't disappear. They might go sideways into a physical symptom. They might go into our subconscious and now they become like a trigger or a way we react that we don't even fully understand. But when we can welcome these parts and make them feel like they are appreciated, that's when they can transform back to their valuable state and actually help us. So we resist parts and they persist. But when we welcome them, that's when they transform. Okay, we're going to get even maybe stay in this strange, bizarre area because this next step is to give reassurance to ourselves, to our parts. It's that inner conversation, that inner dialogue, telling it, hey, you know what? I hear you. I understand you. I got this. You don't have to do it alone. So why does reassurance matter? Well, first, this part is reacting because they're trying to protect us. And now they escalate when they feel ignored. They get louder. and they relax when they feel understood. Then we can gain more access to our best self, right? That part of us that our business needs, that our relationships need. Parts don't need to be fixed. They just need to know we're listening, that we care. So, what does it sound like? Oh, my people pleaser. It's okay you feel that way. I'm not mad. I don't need you to change. Thank you for all the hard work you do to protect me. I really appreciate that. I hear your concern. I understand it. I've got this. You don't have to do it alone. Let's figure this out together. Just like you would do as a leader. And the parts of us that cause the most trouble, that are the loudest, are the ones that are working the hardest trying to protect us. All right, so who's listening? Who, if we have all these parts, who is listening? Because it's not a part. This, I think, is kind of, the first aha for me was the parts, that they're protecting us. This was the second aha. When our survival instinct feels safe, when our ego is calm, when our beliefs and stories aren't being challenged, and when our stress is low, what's left? When you're in that relaxed Zen state, that is what I call our best self. And when we are in our best self, Dr. Schwartz found time and again, he calls them the 8 C's, that these are common characteristics that our best self has. We have more calm curiosity so that we can have more clarity and understand, what does this situation need? What is best? How can I be more creative to figure out different solutions? How can I take action with more confidence and courage and have compassion and connectedness? Wouldn't these be nice to have? Wouldn't these be nice to have, not just more in our business, but also in our relationships? Right now, my husband is taking our daughter back to the airport to head home from spring break. She was just here for 10 days. And I don't know about you, but kids will give us so many opportunities to practice this stuff, right? I mean, she's a junior, so she's been on her own for 3 years, come home, and mom and dad have to remember that we're not really parents anymore, right? So your best self can take you from this protection mode where your parts are working so hard to protect you to self-leadership, because your best knows what to do. It has so many more options of what the situation needs. So self-leadership, what might this look like if we go back to Patty the people pleaser? So what might this sound like? I'm wondering if I could get a volunteer to do a little scripted role play with me, just so you can maybe see and feel this better. Anybody willing to come up and play Patty the people pleaser for me, and I'll be myself? Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right, so you are Patty in bold, and I am Tina, and I'm gonna stand here. So I'm gonna start. So now remember, I am in my best self now. I am speaking to my parts. And I'm gonna say to Patty, I see you and how worried you are. You really don't want me to upset Terry or create tension on this new team. What else do you want me to know?
Exactly. If you speak up, she might feel hurt, and then people might think you are not a team player. That could be bad for you.
I get it. You're working so hard to protect me from conflict and rejection.
I just want to keep things smooth and safe.
Ah, that makes sense. Thank you for caring so much about me. What else would you like me to know about this?
You are new on the team. They don't know or trust you yet. You need to build your reputation with them before you go in and start complaining or pointing fingers.
I agree. It's important to build trust with the team. And sometimes bringing up concerns like wondering if this template for the handout could be improved, that can build trust. How would you feel if I thanked Terry for all her hard work and gently asked if there was even more we could do to make it better? I won't push it. Thank you. So hopefully that gives you a little taste, a little sense. Yes, thank you. Thank you. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. It says Izza. Thank you, Izza. Yes. So it's actually thinking in our head, having these kind of conversations with our parts. So I'm going to invite you, if you would like, to just play with this a little bit. You certainly don't have to. There's no pressure. But I'm going to invite you to just see what this might feel like. And I'm going to put up the different parts here. And again, any experience is perfect. And this is just to do on your own by yourself. But if you would like to, think of a trigger. It could be the same one you were talking about earlier or a different one. And then see if you can go inside. And I'm going to invite you to close your eyes if you would like. You certainly don't have to. And just see if you can listen and notice, what part might this be? What is it saying? And then just play with asking it questions. Like, can you get to know it? What are its concerns? And see if you can give it reassurance that you are here, that your best self, this part of you that really knows what to do. So let's take like 4 minutes. And again, don't feel like you have to do this, but I feel like you're going to leave here and you're going to go off into your busy day and busy life. And right now, I just want to give you a little gift of time to play with this. So 4 minutes, and just see how this feels. All right, well, again, I just want to say any experience is perfect, right? Like, you're in a room with other people. It can be hard to focus. But if you do get a chance, I encourage you to just play with this. Even if you're, driving, don't close your eyes. But sometimes if I'm driving somewhere, I can kind of get in a Zen mode, or just even taking 5-10 minutes at home before you go to sleep at night and checking in. And what I notice when I do this is it's not just one part that comes up for me. There's a part that comes up that says, you don't know what you're doing this wrong. Or there's a part that comes up that says, oh, but we can't forget about this appointment tomorrow. Or, my planner part kicks in. So when a lot of other parts come up, the idea can be like, I see you, and let's talk in a little bit, but right now I'm trying to focus on this other part. So anyway, it can sound a little crazy, but it is really fascinating when you start tuning in and having meaningful conversations with yourself versus just like, oh, Tina, how can you be so stupid? Or what in the heck do you think you're doing? So that brings us to this last step. N is for navigate. So if our parts feel heard and understood, you will notice that they start to relax, even just a little. That intensity of the emotion, that immersion where they're controlling us, starts to soften. And again, what's left is this best self. It's there, it's waiting. It's just that these parts are so activated that we don't notice it. We're not connected with it, but it's there. So when we get that space, now this best self has, again, the 8 C's, right, that we were talking about, much better ability, capacity to deal with those moments, to figure out what to say and do, what to do next. It understands what the situation needs right now, even if we can just get a little bit more access. So imagine here's our wise best self. And some of the thoughts that might come up are like, oh, I have a part that's feeling frustrated. Let me see what this part needs me to know. Oh, how can I bring a little more compassion and curiosity to this situation, this interaction? Feels like the situation, like I need a little more courage. I need a little more courage to say what I need to say. And when we can say it from our best self versus from our reactive self, can you imagine how the tone is different? How the words can be different, how it can be received differently? So who's running the show? I love this analogy. It's like, if we think of inner chaos as here's our team of advisors even, but they all have different ideas of what we should be doing. And a certain situation comes up, and now one gets really loud and it's like, oh, we gotta, like my people pleaser, oh, we gotta protect her, we gotta make sure she doesn't cause waves. We better just make sure she stays quiet. And so that part jumps in and starts running the show and controls what we say and do. Versus, oh, I have some inner alignment. My best self is here and is listening. And my best self is going to make the choices and decisions. It's listening to all my parts, like a board of advisors, right? And it's considering what they're concerned about, what their fears are, and then it decides what to do. Again, I love analogies, so one more analogy for you. This, to me, really helps it in my brain. So it's like, okay, I'm not in the driver's seat. Oh, what happened to that? There's supposed to be another little guy there. I don't know what happened to him. But just to notice, oh, look, I'm not in the driver's seat. I have a frustration, an anxiety, a worry is in control. I wonder who's driving. Let me look closer. Let me pay attention and tune in. Oh, why did they grab the wheel? Why do they think they have to be in control? Let me tell this part that I hear it, that I can give it some reassurance. And if that part can soften a little bit, it will loosen its grip on the steering wheel so that our best self can move into the driver's seat. Now, we're not pushing that part out of the car. We're not saying, get out. We're saying, come with me for the ride, right? But I'm going to drive. I've got this. I'm in control. I know best. And that's what our businesses need, right? They need our best self. Making decisions, dealing with the frustrations, interacting with customers, knowing what to do when something is late. Honestly, this is what our families need from us. This is what our communities need from us. This is, I'm going to get choked up. This is what our world needs from us. Our best self. So imagine, what if every part, every voice in your head was there to serve you, was your personal advisor team, looking at all these different, beliefs and perspectives, and were sharing with you what they were concerned about. And then you get to decide. So instead of holding you back, they're there to serve you because they are transformed to their best self. They trust the best self. Okay, one last little part to this. Other people have parts too. Yeah, and sometimes it's easier to see their parts than it is to see our own parts. Yeah, right? Those customers, work colleagues, family, yeah, they have parts. And what's interesting is their parts can trigger our parts, and our parts can trigger their parts. So if we can step back and think, what part of them is showing up right now, and what part of me is reacting? And it's not that we want that part to go away. Again, it's like, okay, I see you part that feels like this person has no right to be so unreasonable. I see you. I get it. Yeah, it's not fair. It's okay. If that part trusts you, it will soften and you will be able to step in and react and respond from your best self. Because parts plus parts interacting, that's where the drama comes from. That's where all that conflict comes from. When we can bring more of ourself, it brings out the best self of others. And best self plus best self, that's where we get connection, cooperation, collaboration, all the other good C worlds, right? Communication. So we're not just interacting with people, we're interacting with their parts. And when we can remember this, it can make a huge difference. So we can use this same model with others. Just like we use it with our internal team, we can use it with external people. So I've reworded it just a little bit, right? Ooh, notice this person is activated. They're acting in an unusual way, right? Maybe they're attacking, maybe they're defensive. I wonder why they might be activated. I wonder what parts are coming up for them. Let me ask some questions. Is everything okay? What's up, right? Depending on the situation and your relationship with the person could change the question. Let them know that you understand. Even if you don't agree, even if you don't like what they say, you can still validate it and say, yeah, I get it. That sounds hard. That sounds stressful. And then we can try to navigate together. Can we consider some possibilities together? What are you thinking you need to do? So the most powerful business strategy starts with inner alignment first, right? Before you do this, it's good to have inner alignment, and then we can have so much more productive external alignment. It'll be so much easier. So now we're going to do one last practice. This is going to be fun, because what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, I have my internal alignment, my inner alignment. Now let me see how this looks when I interact with other people. So you're going to think of something that's stressing you out, but now instead of going inward, you're going to interact with, like, again, groups of 2 or 3, and you're going to say, hey, you know, like if you and I are doing it, you're going to say, hey, I'm really frustrated about this situation. And I'm going to say, I'm sensing frustration. Would you like to talk about it? And then we're going to be very present and pay full attention while they, like in 30 seconds or so, explain the situation, maybe a minute. And then we're going to ask with calm curiosity, right? We're not going to try to fix. We're not going to offer solutions. We're not going to tell them about our story. We're just going to say, what do you need most right now? What concerns are coming up for you? And then we're going to give reassurance. That makes sense. I can see why that's frustrating. So you can see what this feels like, because then you can help them navigate, right? What options do you see? Would you like to explore some possibilities together? And then after one person has received and had the frustration, then you're going to switch, and the other person is going to share what's stressing them out. So, anybody willing to share what that was like? What was it like? Did you feel heard? Yes, go ahead.
I think like as salespeople, it's good because it's always good to practice listening. You always want to talk before we listen.
It's hard. It's hard, especially for some people, right? Yes. And we want to fix, too.
Right. I think that's definitely a good skill.
Thank you. Yeah.
What do you do if the other person blames you? You're trying to deal with your parts and their parts, and they say, it's all your fault.
Yeah.
I'd be here if it wasn't for you, what you told me.
Yes, exactly. And that's where you got to check in and be like, oh, there's a part coming up that doesn't like that, right? And it's like, oh, well, tell me more about that. Tell me more about how I am to blame, right?
Tell me more how I'm a failure.
Help me to understand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, help me to understand what you're thinking. What's your perspective on that?
I like the word.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think, and again, it's like we want, it's a journey, right? It's not like you're there. It's like, I will guarantee you before you go to bed tonight, life will give you an opportunity to play with this, right? Something will happen, whether it's even all by yourself, like there's a crazy driver on your way out and you're like, oh, look, thank you. That's an opportunity for me to notice what part's coming up, right? And even if you do nothing else but those first 2 steps, just become aware. I can't tell you how often now I'm like, oh, I see you. Yep, I see you, planner part. Oh, I see you, skeptical part. Yes, and just seeing them, I feel like even that, they'll soften a little bit. Like, okay, glad you see me. I'm here. I'm working hard. Yeah, it's fascinating. So as you think about using this, right, because again, to use it well externally, you really have to start with yourself. But imagine pausing in a team meeting to asking what concerns people have and being in your best self, right? You're giving off that energy, hopefully that brings up their best self, and you can receive it. Or responding to a critical comment from someone, right, with genuine curiosity, like, oh, tell me more about that. And acknowledging the part of you that doesn't like it, right? Not saying it has to go away, but can it just relax a little bit so that you can run the show? Staying calm when a customer complains. But here's just, as we wrap this up, I just want to share, because I feel like this kind of applies to what you were saying too. This happened to me a couple months ago. I was with some girlfriends and we were going to have like a dinner gathering at one of our houses. So a couple of us were carpooling and I was already in the car and we stopped to pick up Laura. I'm going to call her Laura, that's not her real name. And I thought I was being really nice. I offered Laura to sit up front and I moved into the back seat with another friend. And I noticed that Laura was pretty quiet on the drive to the dinner. And when we got there, she disappeared. And I thought, well, maybe she had a message or a text or something. So I didn't think a lot about it. I didn't go check on her. But later in the evening when I saw her and I said, hey, how you doing? And she's like, I'm fine. I'm like, she is not fine, right? And I thought, what the heck is going on? So I asked another friend, I said, what's up with Laura? And they pulled me aside and they said, yeah, Laura thinks that you don't care. Laura thought that when you offered her the front seat, it's because you didn't want to talk to her. And that you preferred sitting next to the other friend. And then you didn't come check on her when she disappeared. And so that just confirmed her belief that you don't care. I know it sounds crazy, right? But this stuff happens, right? We know it does. So I noticed my parts come up, right? I'm like, okay, are you serious? Like, what the heck? I had that part that was like saying, why is she being so immature? How can she think this? We're good friends, you know, blah, 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 all these parts. And then I took a breath and I said, okay, I see you. And I got enough space and access to my best self that I was able to handle the situation differently. Because normally my old self would feel tension and frustration and probably try to avoid Laura for the rest of the night or say something unhelpful. But the new me was able to approach Laura and say, I heard you're upset with me and I would really like us to talk about it because our friendship is so important to me. And she explained to me, she said, I had this stressful thing happen earlier in the day and I really needed to talk to you about it. And I was hoping we could talk in the car and then you didn't want to sit next to me. I'm like, oh, now that makes a little bit more sense, right? She was already activated. She was already triggered. And so she's not in her best self. She's reactive. And she's seeing my behavior through that lens. And I was able to say, I get it. I understand that sounds frustrating. But I want you to know that was never my intention. And I could actually like feel her softening, right? I could feel her relaxing. And eventually we had a great night, right? We reconnected and we really strengthened our friendship. But there was a part of me that was like my cheerleader, like, good job, look what you did. You were able to really approach this with curiosity, compassion, connectedness. And so in those little moments when you see that difference, it's so encouraging. It's like, yes, this really can work. And so we do it in baby steps on little things. So my last slide here is because when we can welcome our parts and build that inner alignment, it not only transforms our inner world, like how we feel and our stress and our frustration, it transforms our outer impact at work and beyond. So thank you.